You should have brought this to my attention immediately, Renee. I could have begun research, started making contacts, leveraging what I have to make this happen. And now I find myself behind the clock, with much work to do and possibly very little time to do it in. Damn it all. I am very upset about this, Renee. And Victor, you as well. Use your head. You have to be smart. But I understand your apprehension. After all, I was not the most accepting of you in the beginning. No doubt Renee herself also still questions whether I would find myself opportunistic were I put in the right position over you. But I have long since accepted the situation, and believe it or not, I'm actually becoming quite fond of you, Victor. You possess strong characteristics about you. I began noticing them the first time that I had a sparring session. But after that, there was, well, the transformation incident, and everything sort of spiraled from there. But since everything has calmed down and I've been able to spend more time with you, I've come to see and appreciate these characteristics. You have a strong will, a focused mind, a sense of determination about you, and an honest and trustworthy nature. These are all extremely admirable qualities. I am just sad that I was blind to them, caught up in my own obsession with who might be trying to pull a fast one. To speak of which, I have a guest due here shortly. It was at that point that we heard a knock on the door. Oh, no. Of course, arriving at the worst possible moment. All right, you two. Try not to do anything or say anything stupid. We shall reconvene this discussion in but a moment. I'll try to get through this quickly, but stay here. I don't want you running off and doing anything stupid in the meantime. All right, you may enter, Renee's father called out as the door opened, and in strolled a familiar face. Well, how are you doing today? Oh, looks like you got the whole family in here. It's a right good time, it is. It was none other than Brooklyn Scott. Oh, and it's tough, kid. But no, that's something different, he said as he started sniffing the air. Well, I'd be blown down. You're a wolf now. When did that happen, kid? No, did she? No, she couldn't have. No, your scent's way too different. You're a different breed. So she didn't turn you. Someone else did, perhaps? He said, starting to look me over, closing in a bit. And yet again, something weird was going on. As he closed in, sniffing around me and seeming to look me over, there was something weird surrounding him, like a sort of aura. He wasn't grayed out like the woman who was dying. It was something else. Some type of shifting, colorful pattern that seemed to outline him as he looked me over. That's enough of that, Brooklyn. Leave the boy and my daughter alone. They are not the reason you are here. Well, fair enough, Brooklyn replied, still carrying a calm, debonair smile. I am here to do business with you, after all. But since this is the first time we're meeting as wolves, I figure I might as well get a straight-across introduction. My name's Brooklyn Scott. I lead one of the largest territories in England. My companies, the ones I own, and the ones your father owned, commonly do business together, she said, looking over to Renee, for just a moment during the conversation. So I come by from time to time. I find it best to do business with wolves that are farther away from your own territory. less reason for them to want to pull a fast one. Get sneaky or backstabby. Then that just has to bring the old me out. It's bad business. So I avoid it altogether. So, my young friend, what's your name? He said, extending his hand out to me. Oh, and don't mind the last time we met. I threaten people all the time. Unless they do something seriously stupid, it rarely comes to anything. Fine, I suppose. My name is Victor. Victor Barron. What, hold on a pic. Victor Barron? Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but my contacts have recently told me of an emerging wolf that seems to have the whole wolf world turned on its head at this point in time. One going by the name of Victor Barron, the only living wolf, sired by Salvera Reaper, the lost bloodline, and a member of this here pack, the Hollowfields. Don't tell me it's you, he said, now looking me over even more intensely. Yeah, unfortunately, that's me. The whole lost bloodline, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, it seems like nothing but a pain in my ass. But just one question. What's with the glow? It's kind of weird. Is that just you? Glow? The man said, with a curious expression on his face. What are you talking about? I ain't got no glow. But you... I said, as I started looking over to Renee and her father. That's enough, Victor. Say nothing else. Renee's father said, as suddenly it appeared that Brooklyn Scott got it. Oh, I see. It's something special. Something from the Salvera Reaper bloodline. An ability that your clan possesses. Something in the sight. Something that y'all are trying to keep hidden. Well, ain't that quaint? Now you've got me interested. So, you responded with what's with the aura. That means you haven't seen it before. You don't know what it is. There's just something different about me than anyone you've seen before. Now I might surmise that it was something to do with my power, my strength perhaps, but that can't be it. Because Renee's old man has got plenty of chops, enough to hang with me any day of the week. If it was just power that did it, then you'd see it around him too. But no, it's something specific to me. That's interesting. Very much so. That's enough, Brooklyn Scott. I have not given you permission to interrogate members of my pack. Or would you like to settle this the old-fashioned way? At that point, Brooklyn Scott got a very focused expression as he looked over to Renee's father. Okay, well, you're right. I don't feel like throwing bones right now. Now, that would be far too messy. I wouldn't really get anything out of it either. So, now I have a question with no answer. Ugh, that pisses me off, he said, starting to scratch his head. Oh, I got it. How about a trade? He said, looking over to me. One trade between a wolf and another wolf. That shouldn't be something that your pack leader should have any say on. That is, if you're willing to make a trade. A trade, huh? I said, looking him back in the eye, as he seemed to have a very sly grin on his face. Yeah, a simple trade. Information for a favor. How's that? I get to inquire about this glow, why I have it, information, ask questions, a little back and forth between you and me. See if I can suss things out. As long as I ask a question, you're required to answer the question truthfully. And so long as you keep to that arrangement, once the question and answer cycle is over, I will give you one favor, which you can call in at any time you like. It was at that point that Renee and her father seemed to pipe up, not saying anything. Once again, I was my own wolf, and this was him offering an arrangement to me as an individual, meaning they didn't have the authority to tell me I couldn't make the deal. It was up to me. I looked back at him, beginning to think it over a bit. Okay, what about standards for the questions? I replied. You want information, right? Well, if I give you permission to ask whatever questions you want, you can get any information you want. You could even sap me for lots of information, and then purposely ask a question that you know I'll refuse to answer, and then weasel your way out of it. It's possible. That is, if there are no restrictions on the questions. So, how about this, Brooklyn Scott? I'll agree to your terms. Information in exchange for a favor. But we enforce restrictions on the questions that you can ask. You want to know about the aura that I can see, that happens to be around you. Well, then I'll agree to that. You may ask me any question you want, so long as it pertains to that ability, and what it might possibly mean, and that ability alone. Everything else is out of bounds unless it pertains particularly to this individual ability, what it could possibly mean. Everything else is off limits. No asking me about other abilities. No asking me about Renee or her father, or the pack for that instance. No asking me about my general life. You want information on one thing, you can only ask questions that give you information about that one thing. And in exchange, you give me a favor. So, is that acceptable? I said, trying to hold my stance, after hearing that he was in charge of one of the largest packs in England. A favor from him could definitely be a big help, but crossing him could also be a big hindrance. Well, aren't you clever? Making sure to watch your own arse. That's smart, kid. You got some wits to you. Fair enough. Deal, he said, extending his hand out to shake.